He is here. Do not let him escape.
The night everything changed began like any other. The moon hung high above the village, casting long shadows across the dusty paths. 10-year-old Kelechi was returning home after helping his grandmother gather firewood. The village was silent. The huts stood quietly beneath the moonlight. Everything seemed normal. But hidden within the darkness, something was watching him. Something that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. As Kelechi walked along the narrow path, he suddenly noticed something strange. His shadow had stopped moving. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. He took another step, then another. But the shadow remained exactly where it was, frozen. A cold feeling crawled down his spine. Something was terribly wrong. Slowly, the shadow lifted its head. Kelechi froze. His mouth fell open. The shadow turned and looked directly at him. Its eyes glowed softly in the darkness. A strange smile spread across its face. No one had ever told stories about shadows doing such things, because shadows were not supposed to be alive. Yet here it was, watching him. Then the shadow began to speak. Kelechi. The boy nearly screamed. His legs trembled beneath him. The shadow leaned closer. Black smoke rose from its body. The darkness around them seemed to grow deeper. 3 nights from now, the shadow whispered, a great darkness will come. It will swallow this village. Kelechi stared in disbelief. What darkness? Where was it coming from? Why was it coming here? But the shadow refused to answer. Instead, it smiled, and that smile filled him with dread. The following morning, Kelechi hoped it had all been a dream, but it wasn't. As he walked through the village marketplace, he heard whispers everywhere. The shadow beneath a tree whispered secrets. The shadow beneath a basket whispered warnings. Even the shadows beneath the villagers spoke among themselves. Only Kelechi could hear them. And every shadow seemed afraid. That evening, Kelechi sat beneath the ancient baobab tree outside the village. The whispers followed him. Dozens of shadows gathered around him. Some belonged to birds. Some belonged to animals. Others seemed to belong to no one at all. Together, they spoke of an ancient evil, a darkness older than the village itself, a darkness that was awakening. As the shadows whispered, strange visions appeared before Kelechi's eyes. He saw fire spreading through the village. He saw frightened people running into the night. He saw darkness swallowing entire forests. The visions felt real, too real, and each vision ended the same way, with a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at him. The next day, strange events began to occur. The village well dried up overnight. Several goats vanished without a trace. The village drummers discovered their drums cracked and broken. Fear spread quickly. The elders gathered to discuss the strange happenings. But Kelechi already knew. The darkness was coming. That afternoon, a mysterious traveler arrived. His clothes were covered in dust from a long journey. His face looked tired, and his eyes carried fear. The villagers welcomed him and listened to his story. What he told them made everyone silent. Entire villages had disappeared beyond the mountains. No survivors, no explanations, only darkness. Far away, beyond those mountains, something moved. A creature made entirely of living shadows. Its body towered above the trees. Its eyes burned red like fire. The creature was known only by one name, the Dark Walker. Wherever it traveled, fear followed. And now it was heading toward Kelechi's village. The shadows of the world carried secrets, and every secret eventually reached the Dark Walker. Thousands of shadows whispered into its ears. The creature listened carefully. Then suddenly, it smiled. Because among the whispers, it had heard a name. Kelechi. Now it knew exactly who stood in its way. Determined to save his village, Kelechi followed the shadows into the forest. There he discovered ancient ruins hidden beneath tangled vines. The walls were covered in carvings. The carvings told the story of the shadow speakers, people gifted with the ability to communicate with shadows, people who protected the world from darkness. And according to the carvings, Kelechi was the last of them. Deep beneath the ruins, ancient shadow spirits appeared. Their glowing eyes stared into Kelechi's soul. They revealed the truth about his bloodline. For generations, his family had protected the balance between light and darkness. But that balance was now breaking. The Dark Walker was stronger than ever before, and only Kelechi could stop it. As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, Kelechi climbed a hill overlooking the village. What he saw filled him with terror. A wall of darkness stretched across the horizon. It moved like a living storm. Forests vanished beneath it. Rivers disappeared. Everything it touched was consumed, and it was getting closer. Following the guidance of the shadows, Kelechi entered a hidden cave. Inside, hundreds of faces stared at him from the walls. Eyes blinked within the darkness. Whispers echoed endlessly through the tunnels. The deeper he walked, the colder the air became. Something ancient lived within this place. Something powerful. At the center of the cave stood a massive throne. Upon it sat the Shadow King, a being older than memory itself. His body was made entirely of darkness. His glowing eyes burned like blue fire. He had ruled the shadows for thousands of years. And he had been waiting for Kelechi. The Shadow King raised his hand. The ground trembled. Thousands of shadow warriors emerged from the darkness. An army hidden beneath the world. An army prepared for war. The king warned Kelechi that the Dark Walker was only the beginning. Something far worse was awakening. Something even the shadows feared. Suddenly, the cave shook violently. A terrible roar echoed through the darkness. The Dark Walker had arrived. The two ancient powers faced one another. The Shadow King and the Dark Walker. Kelechi stood trapped between them. The battle that followed would decide the fate of the world. Darkness exploded through the cave. Shadow warriors rushed forward. The Dark Walker unleashed a wave of black fire. The Shadow King answered with a storm of living shadows. The ground cracked beneath their power. Kelechi could only watch in horror. Then everything suddenly became silent. The shadows froze. The Shadow King stopped moving. Even the Dark Walker looked afraid. Something was coming. Want to know what happened next?
Some
Press the
shadows
subscribe button
never
for
let
part
go.
3. And thanks for watching.